So very good afternoon and a very warm welcome to this concluding session of the second workshop on the pedagogy of signals and systems. Once again, I must congratulate all of you on your very enthusiastic participation. And today, we shall first begin with the remaining presentations. So we have two presentations left from the last cycle, with group 7 and group 8. So we shall first have those presentations, and then we shall move on to the discussion of the questions and answers that you prepared, question paper and answers that you prepared, followed by the valedictory note. So then we'll first begin with the presentations, and I now invite group 7 to make a presentation. So it looks like there is a bandwidth problem that he has probably. So then let us have a presentation by group 8 first, I think. Yes.
So today is the concluding day of this pedagogy workshop on building an online signals and systems course part 2. Today I will be on behalf of my group 8, I will be presenting system analysis using Laplace transform. Now, objective of this lecture is to define the system through Laplace transform and analyze it with a practical circuit example. That is that I will cover in the lecture. Now, all of us know that any system can be represented by its transfer function. So transfer function is basically the ratio of the output in S domain by the ratio of the input in S domain in the when there is no initially forced. Actually, the system should be at rest. So this system type of transfer function, since it is a ratio of two polynomials, it may be rational or irrational. Rational means it must be expressed by a fraction p by q, and let us take this rational transfer function, and this transfer function of a system can be represented by a numerator polynomial as well as a denominator polynomial. The numerator polynomial is given by ns and the denominator polynomial is ds. So let us take this example that this numerator polynomial is expressed in S domain with a series of s square, s cube, and like that. And similarly, denominator polynomial is also expressed in the S domain. And finally, if we take s to the power 4 a common on numerator and denominator, then we can get the final system function. And since here numerator polynomial, the highest power of s is less than the denominator polynomial of where highest power of s is 7. So this is a rational transfer function, rational system. Now, from these systems, every system is characterized by every system is characterized by its characteristic equations, and it is the roots of the characteristic equation of any system actually describes the system performance in always system performance in any domain. That means natural domain as well as in the frequency or S domain. So here, with the previous example, that system here I have taken as an example that numerator polynomial is a 6th order polynomial, and the denominator polynomial is a 7th order polynomial. Now, if we have to understand that if we have to find out the roots of the denominator polynomial, so ds will be equal to 0. So we will get 7 such values of s for the denominator, when the denominator will be, the value of the denominator will be equal to 0. Now when the denominator will be equal to 0, that means the magnitude of the system function becomes infinity, because it is in the denominator, and if it is becoming 0, in that case the g becomes, magnitude of g becomes infinity. So from these two picture, these two figure, we can see that this, let us consider these are the two axes. So this is the real axis in the s plane, and this is the imaginary axis in the s plane. And here also in this figure also we can see, we always talk about the plane, s plane. That means we know s is a complex operator. It is having a real part and an imaginary part, and since there are two variables, it will form a plane. But here we have taken the third dimension. That means we have plotted this in the 3D, as because this magnitude part is plotted against this z direction, not this this upside down direction. And here we can see that the at the poles, that means at the roots of the denominator polynomial, this magnitude of the system functions become infinite. Magnitude of the system function becomes infinite. So from there we can find out that where the poles are situated. So similarly, we can take that numerator polynomial is equal to 0. That signifies that where the system function magnitude, where the magnitude is equal to 0, it is tending towards the 0. So that means if a plane is there in this 0 line, there are planes, and we can see that there is a dip in the tent. Here we can consider this as a tent, and it can go, it can be that means if we want to give a high altitude to the tent, we have to fix up a pole there. That's why these are called poles. And similarly, if we anchor the tent to the ground, in that case this is zeros, which is going towards the 0, and basically these points are obtained by the by equating the numerator polynomials with equal to 0, which signifies that that's the way at these points the system function is equal to 0. So here we can give an example of a rational Laplace transform where 0 is placed at s equal to -1, and there are two poles s equal to -3 and s equal to -5. So from there we can make this system function that is equal to s plus 1 by s plus 3 into s plus 5. But here we cannot find out the from these, with this information, if these are the informations provided to us, that means if we know about the poles and zeros, we cannot have the magnitude of the magnitude of the system function, that is also called the scaling factor, or in control systems it is called the gain of the system. So this k part is not known to us if we know the poles and zeros. So to find this k part is not known by us. Now to calculate the inverse Laplace transform with the help of poles and zeros. With the help of poles and zeros. Now to find out the gain, in that case we have to in the previous slide, if we want to find out the gain, we have to consider it in the time time constant mode, and then we can find out the gain of the system. That I will do later. So now let's calculate the inverse Laplace transform with the help of poles and zeros. So to find out this, we have to find out the distinct poles and the Laplace transform of the form ns by ds. Here there will be a ns by ds, where degree of numerator polynomial must be less than the degree of the denominator polynomial. Each distinct pole will give a set of terms of the form that is k into s plus alpha. Now suppose a pole is situated at s equal to -2 for a particular system, and there are 3 poles which are situated at -2. So to find out the system function, in that case we have to consider partial fraction terms, that is a by s plus 2 plus b by s plus 2 square and then c by s plus 2 whole cube.
So meanwhile, let me in fact explain a few points which Nandita has been discussing. You notice that she's been making a beautiful presentation on the idea of poles and zeros. So, you see one of the, in fact, if you go to her previous slide, you'll notice that she has beautifully illustrated how the pole is a point where the so-called tent, magnitude tent, is held up. And the zero is a point where the magnitude tent has been pinned down. So zero, that's why this name poles and zeros. So zeros are where the tent, you can think of the magnitude of the rational system function as a tent sitting on the complex plane, on the ground of the complex plane. So wherever there is a pole, the tent is held up. And wherever there is a zero, the tent is pinned down. So in fact, the poles and zeros bring a shape to the tent, so to speak, the magnitude of the system function. Moreover, system functions may or may not be rational. But most of the time, for realizable systems, we can only have rational system functions. So in fact, Professor Nandita is beautifully explaining how poles and zeros characterize the rational system function, and how now you could invert the Laplace transform in the context of rational function. So we'll wait for, so is Harish, is your bandwidth okay now?
Yes,
okay,
sir. Yes,
so
sir.
after this presentation, we'll have your presentation.
Yes, sir. Sure, sir.
So,
sir, I have a small question in this realizable transfer functions.
Yes.
Sir, if numerator order is greater than denominator order, is it realizable, sir?
Well, yes, but in fact, if you look at RLC networks, it is realizable only if
Yes,
there is a degree difference of 1. If in RLC networks,
numerator more than 1.
I mean, the difference in degree between numerator and denominator cannot be more than 1.
Yes, sir.
In fact, for RLC,
okay.
RLC impedances, the numerator
okay, sir.
and denominator degree cannot differ by more than 1. This is an interesting principle,
okay.
which is known in network synthesis for RLC networks.
So can numerator more than denominator by 1, sir?
Well, for example, suppose you have an inductive impedance.
Yes, sir.
You see, if you have an inductive impedance, then you have something of the form K times S, L times S, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
It's possible, you can have, but for an RLC system, the difference must be only 1.
Okay, sir. Okay. Thank you, sir.
Very good. So, Professor Nandita, will you be able to continue now?
Okay, now I am continuing.
Yes, okay. You can continue your presentation. You can start presenting again.
Yes, sir. So, if there is a multiple poles at a particular point, suppose at s equal to 2, there is a multiple poles. So in that case, multiple pole means the 3 poles comes together at s equal to -2. So to realize the transfer function, we will consider it that there will be we will consider it in the form of partial fractions like a by s plus 2, then b by s plus 2 whole square, then c by s plus 2 whole cube, where a, b, c are the constant, and from this equation we get the system transfer function. Now, if suppose the numerator polynomial is greater than the denominator polynomial, so what will happen? That we have to divide the numerator polynomial first by the denominator polynomial, and we will get some quotient and some remainder. And here with the example I can explain. Suppose the numerator polynomial is of order 2 and the denominator polynomial is of order 1. So in this case, we will divide the numerator polynomial 3s square plus 2s plus 14 by denominator polynomial s plus 2. And after this long division, we will get the quotient as 3s minus 10, and there will be a remainder of minus 6. So it is not the quotient. It is actually wrongly written. This is remainder quotient. The quotient will be up to this. This 3s plus minus 10 is the quotient, and this portion is the remainder part. So the transfer function g will be here can be written as 3s minus 10 minus 6 by s plus 2, and this 6 by s plus 2 it is a rational system, and it is having a rational system function, that is 6 by s plus 2. Now there are these two terms which will make a problem to us when we want to take the Laplace inverse. We know that constant when it is we take the Laplace inverse, it comes the delta function. But there is a problem with this, that is having a s term. So this is these terms are this is a problem. Now let us come to the singularity function. So in the singularity function, that is we can calculate this 1 by s plus 1. We can easily calculate the Laplace transform of 1 by s plus 1. But as I told that if there is a term which is having s in it, then it is difficult to find out the inverse Laplace transform. And also from the previous example, it is we have seen that from 10 we can directly write down it is a delta function of amplitude 10. Similarly, here in this section, if the constant value is c, that is always equal to, if we take the Laplace transform, that is minus infinity to plus infinity xt to the power of minus st dt, which is equal to constant, then xt will be equal to delta t. Xt will be c into delta t. So similarly, if we have the 10 in our previous example, then for 10 we can write 10 delta t as inverse Laplace transform. But to get Cs as the Laplace transform, what should be the signal? Then that we have to find out. So let us differentiate this. It should be d not dx. It should be dt actually. So let us differentiate C delta T. Let us differentiate C delta T. Now, if C delta T is differentiated, that means an impulse function is getting differentiated with respect to time. But we know that impulse is only defined at a particular point, and it is zero everywhere in the domain. Everywhere it is zero, but it is only differentiable at only at that point. But if we go with that, then we cannot differentiate the impulse function. So we have to consider the impulse function as a very narrow pulse of width delta, and if it is of width delta, then its amplitude will be 1 by delta. As we know that the area under the impulse function is always equal to unity. So let us take a very narrow pulse of width delta from plus delta by 2 to minus delta by 2. Now we know that differentiation means actually the rate of change of the signal. Now, if this is differentiated, in that case we can see that the state changes occurs at minus delta by 2 and at plus delta by 2. In the minus delta by 2, it is going 0 to some value 1 by delta, and in plus delta by 2, it is coming down from 1 by delta to 0. So these two, the point where the state changes occur. So in this case, it is represented by the double delta. That means double impulse function, that is this one at minus delta by 2 and the negative one at plus delta by 2. It is called the doublet. It is also called the doublet. So, and the amplitude of this delta is 1 by delta. Now, we let the doublet, now we will consider the Laplace transform with this doublet. That means from minus infinity to plus infinity xt delta. Now this can be expressed as a delta t minus t0 by delta t to minus delta t minus t0 by delta by 2, and this actually represents the function, that is x t0 minus delta by 2 minus x t0 by delta by 2 by delta. As delta tends to 0, the above expression will become negative of the derivative of xt at t equal to t0. So we found by applying doublet over a differentiable function, we got the derivative of the function at that point. This doublet is usually called unit doublet, and it is trying to be unit impulse at delta tends to 0. So as this delta tends to 0, it will go to the unit impulse. So we can extend this idea to find the inverse Laplace transform, and the double differentiation is this can be applicable. This can be applicable when we have this. We have to find out the Laplace transform, inverse Laplace transform of constant multiplied by s, and these generalized functions are also called the singularity functions. Now let us take an example of RC circuit. Here this RC circuit is known to everyone, and here one V input as VI and V output is given as V. Here the voltage across the resistance is taken as VRT, and the current is flowing through it is IRT. So IR. So here we can see that VR is equal to IR into R in the Laplace domain. So this R is called the Laplace domain impedance of the resistance. And if we consider the capacitance, we know that the current is directly proportional to the rate of change of voltage across the capacitor. So it is equal to C dVdt. So this C dVdt, and if we take the Laplace transform, it will come to 1 by Cs. It will come to 1 by Cs, and this is called the Laplace domain impedance of capacitance. So once we get the Laplace domain impedance of the capacitance and the impedance of the resistance, then we can write down the equation. If the input is Vi, in that case, if it input is Vi, in that case Vi is equal to RC dVo. VO is the output. Then we can write the equation. It is a first order differential equation. And if we change it in the S domain, then this will come to VIS is equal to RCS V0S plus V0S. Then from the transfer characteristic transfer function of the system is 1 by 1 plus RCS. All of us know that, and this RC, if it is considered as the time constant, then it will be 1 by 1 plus tau s. It is called the system function. Now this system has one pole at S equal to 1 by minus tau, and this has got region of convergence at from 0 to convergence from minus 1 by tau to infinity, and another one is from minus infinity to minus 1 by tau. So from here, if this RC circuit is now, if we can take the Laplace transform of unit step function, we can get this 1 by S, and for 1 by S, the ROC will be the real side of the S plane. That means this portion of the S plane will be the region of convergence. Now, suppose the RC circuit here previously explained is excited by the input step as a unit step function. So the output will be 1 by S into 1 by S plus tau, 1 by S tau plus 1. Now from there we can write it in a partial fraction form, that is 1 by S minus 1 by S plus 1 by tau. Here ROC will be the intersection of the region of convergence of each term. That means the common portion will be the ROC. ROC for the first part and the ROC for the second part, where they coincide, that part will be the ROC of the system function. So for the first part, the ROC is the entire right half of the S plane, and for the second part, the ROC is starting from just minus 1 by tau to this. So this portion, this yellow portion, is the region of convergence for this function. Now, if we take, this is the unit step response of RC circuit. Now, if we take the ramp as a, so the output will be given by taking like inverse Laplace transform, and it will be given by this. And now, if it is if it is given by a ramp input, then V input is equal to T ut, and V input is equal to T ut, and this will become 1. So this this will become 1 by S squared. This will become 1 by S square. Since it is 1 by s square, there is this can be partial fraction expansion will be like this, and we will take the inverse Laplace transform for each of the term, and we will get the final output V output as t ut minus minus tau ut plus tau into e to the power of minus 1 by tau ut. So this is the output of a RAM when we excite the RC circuit with the RAM. Now, similar result can be obtained if the system is first excited by unit step and then the result is passed through another integrator, because we know that 1 by s corresponds to an integrator, and if we pass this result from this RC circuit to an integrator, we will get the same result as well. So this up to this, these are the circuit realization of a Laplace transform. There are several numerous examples that can be applied for the other circuits also. So from there we can find out the application of the Laplace transform, and it is very much convenient for the engineers and everyone to explain or to describe the frequency response as well as to relate the natural response with the frequency response with the help of this Laplace transform. Now, what I have not explained here, how to find out this K, I am just telling you that you take common, this 3 you take common, and you take this 5 as 5 common. Then it will be 1 by 15, and if you express it in the S tau form, that means it will be 1 by 15 into S by 3 plus 1 into S by 5 plus 1. So 1 by, so the gain part will be 1 by 15. So by this way you can find out the gain of the system. So this up to this, today I am slightly disturbed, so my presentation is not up to the mark. So thank you very much, sir. Thank you.
So thank you very much, Professor Nandita. I think you made a very nice presentation and beautifully brought out how the rational system function can be treated in terms of inversion and how it can be characterized by its poles and zeros. So I think all the participants have very much appreciated your presentation, and we do all pray that whatever is the trouble in your mind is removed soon.
Thank you, sir.
So very good. So very well done. I think Professor Nandita has made a very nice presentation on the rational Laplace transform, which is a very, very important part of most of system theory. Rational system theory relates to the real world most of the time. So we need to focus on rational functions. Now we'll make a presentation. We'll have a presentation by Harish. Are you ready, Harish?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Yes, sir. Sir, very sorry. This screen sharing some issues there, sir. Can I just summarize orally, sir?
Summarize, yeah. You summarize
what is there in the actual content?
Yes.
Yes, sir. Yeah. Very sorry, sir. So as I told, my topic is lecture 23, which is duality of differentiation property and rational transfer functions. So as we know, when we take derivative of the Laplace transform in frequency domain, so we know that if we take its inverse Laplace transform, we will get this signal in natural domain multiplied by t, or minus t x of t. If we take Laplace transform, its Laplace transform is d by d omega of x. D by ds of x of s. So there is a duality for this differentiation property. If we take derivative of the signal in natural domain, that is d by dt of x of t, its Laplace transform is s into x of s, or the Laplace transform is multiplied by frequency. So this is the duality of the differentiation property. So this property has very nice use in analyzing the systems or naturally occurring systems in engineering, where there is a, derivative kind of relation between input output, or for example, y of t equal to d square x of t by dt square, or plus like that kind of expression, which is also known as linear constant coefficient differential equation. So in this case, this duality property is very useful. So to get the system response, also known as system function. So if we take the Laplace transform of this input-output relationship here, so we'll get a transfer function which is known as rational transfer function, where there is numerator and denominator. In numerator there are s terms, s and its higher order terms, as well as in the denominator also will be having s and its higher order terms. This transfer function will get by using this duality property. So that is the use of this duality property of differentiation. Similarly, so there are some functions, system functions, which are also known as irrational transfer function or irrational system functions. So these kind of systems are having a large number of terms in numerator and denominator, or we can say infinite number of terms in numerator and denominator. So if you want to use it, if you want to implement it ideally, we will use a lot of resources, or we can say infinite resources required to ideally realize this. So these kind of systems are known as non-realizable systems. So here, so these are the irrational transfer functions. So the duality property holds for rational transfer functions which are realizable. So that is the conclusion, sir. I think it's enough for today.
Okay, fine. All right, thank you, Professor Harish Bhatt, and it's good to see that you summarize the differentiation property and its dual. Yeah, so very good. So now we've had all the presentations by all the groups, and we shall now go on to a session of discussing question papers that you have framed. Yes, so we will look at the question. We will start with group 1. I'll request you to be presenting your question paper and your solution. So group 1, are you ready with your question paper?
Sir, can I get 5 minutes? I will convert
Yeah,
to
you can come and present later. Group 2 then present its question paper. Yeah, very good. You can see, yes, you can see your presentation.
So this is the first question. A signal x of t with the Fourier transform x of j omega undergoes impulse string sampling to generate x cap of t, which is equal to summation n running from minus infinity to plus infinity of x of nts into del of t minus nts, where ts is given as 10 raised to minus 4. Does the sampling theorem guarantee that x of t can be recovered from x cap of t? So given are the two cases. First case for x of j omega is equal to 0 for mod of omega greater than 5000 pi, and second case x of j omega is equal to 0 for mod of omega greater than 20,000 pi.
Okay, very good. Yeah, so you can explain the solution now.
Here is the solution. We know that from the sampling theorem, signal can be recovered exactly if omega is much greater than twice of omega n.
Yes.
So for the given signal for first case, whereby x of j omega is equal to 0 for omega greater than 5000 pi, twice of omega m will be 10,000 pi, and omega s will be 2 pi by ts, whereby ts is given as 10 raised to minus 4. So it will be 20,000 pi. So as omega s is much greater than twice of omega n or omega m, we can say that x of t can be recovered from x cap of t.
Very good, yes.
Same way, the second case if you will solve for second case, twice of omega m is 40,000 pi, and omega s is same, which is 2 pi by ts, which we have computed as 20,000 pi. So in this case, omega s is less than twice of omega m, and hence we can conclude that x of t cannot be recovered from x cap of t.
Very good. So in fact, this is essentially an examination of the sampling theorem to a particular numerical exam. Yeah, very nice, very good. Yes. We'll take your next question.
Determine x of 0 if the z transform of x of n is x of z is equal to 2z square upon z plus 3 into z minus 4.
Very good.
So we have to compute x of 0. So we can use initial value theorem of the z transform, which says x of 0 is equal to limit z tends to infinity of x of z. So x of z is given to us. We can substitute x of z and just taking the z term common from the denominator. We do have z from the first bracket. From the second bracket will contribute to z square in the denominator. This numerator denominator term will get cancelled for, and what term we will is limit z tends to infinity of 2 divided by 1 plus 3 by z into 1 minus 4 by z. If I let z tends to infinity, then we will have 3 by infinity, which is 0. Here in second bracket, 4 divided by infinity, which is again 0. So I will have overall answer 2. X of 0 is equal to 2.
Very good. So here you have applied what is called the initial value theorem. Now you must see for the Z transform in general, so to clarify that this applies when you have a right-sided transform beginning, right-sided sequence beginning from n equal to 0, right? So when your
Yes, sir.
sequence begins from n equal to 0, then this can be applied. Very good. Yeah,
Yes, sir.
very nice. Take your next question.
Here is the next one. An ideal low-pass filter has a cutoff frequency of 150 Hz. If the input to the filter in volts is V of t is given as 30 into sine of 1 to 516, the magnitude of the output of filter is. Options are given 0, 100, 150, 200.
Very good.
Solution is low pass filter has the cutoff given is the low pass filter with a cutoff frequency of 150 Hz. So it will pass all the signals which have frequency components below or less than 150 Hz. So for the given signal, input signal, omega is equal to 1256, from which we can write for f, which comes out to be approximately 200 Hz.
Yes.
So LPF will not pass this signal and the output of filter will be 0, because cutoff frequency of the filter is given at 150 Hz
That's
and the signal we have is 200 Hz. So output will be 0 volt.
very good. Very good. Yes.
Next one is this. Choose the signal which does not have Fourier transform.
Okay.
First one is t into e raised to t into u of t. 1 divided by under root of 1 plus t cube, sinc of t and del of t. So the answer is option A, which is t into e raised to t into u of t.
Yes.
Because growing exponential signals does not converge or they have infinite energy, and hence its Fourier transform doesn't exist.
Very good. Very nice. So very well framed questions. Very nicely. So thank you, Professor. I
Thank you,
think we can give other groups a chance now. Thank you very much.
Yes, sir.
Very well
Sir,
done.
I do have one query from the ungraded
Yes.
quiz we do have in the course.
Yes.
Shall I open it now?
Yeah. So you can just mention it. Okay. Yeah.
The question. Here is the question.
Yes.
Suppose we have an audio piece sung by many singers together, which is not band limited. We are interested in extracting certain features of this audio, say the male voices, which lie in the range of 85 to 180 Hz.
Okay.
Since we want to digitize it, sampling is a must. What are the
Yes.
components you would need so that we can perfectly obtain the male voices?
Okay.
So according to me, means what I had done is, because the range of frequency we are interested is 85 to 180. So
Yes.
maximum frequency component we have is 180.
Yes.
So twice sampling frequency will be twice of omega m.
Yes.
Fs is greater than should be greater than twice of Fm. So
Okay.
I have chosen for the first option sampler of Fs greater than 360 Hz.
Okay.
Then
Well, yeah. You see, now it's also, you can check in this question,
yes,
have they made it non-zero in a band? So what is the band in which it is non-zero, the spectrum?
it is not band limited.
No, it is band limit. Otherwise, you can't see. You can read out. Huh? So, what is the band in which the spectrum lies?
85 to 180 hertz.
85
Male
to
voice.
1.
Yeah.
Now, you see, you would. So, what is the question asked? What are the components that you require, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
So, of course, yeah. Of course, you're right. One of them would be a sampler, right? And of course, more than 240 hertz. What are the other options?
The other options are sampler of fs greater than 170 hertz.
Okay.
Then
Now, hmm, yes.
low pass filter of cutoff frequency between 180 to fs minus 180.
Okay. Now, see, can you read out the? I can't read your question properly. Can you read out the first
Is it
part of
not
the
seen,
question?
sir?
Yeah, yeah. Can you read out the first part of your question, or maybe you can expand your screen so we can all see it.
Okay, sir. I will just try it is image. Okay.
You can just read it out. Don't worry about it. Just read it
Okay,
out.
fine, sir.
Yeah.
Suppose we have an audio piece sung by many singers together, which is not band limited.
Okay.
We are interested in extracting certain features of this audio. See the male voices, which lie in the range 85 to 180 hertz.
So you would first need to extract that band, isn't
Male.
it?
Yes.
So that's why you also need a band pass filter,
Band pass filter with frequency 85 to 180 hertz.
isn't it? You first need that band pass filter, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
Now, once you have a band pass filter, what is the band which is being spanned? 85 to 180 hertz.
180 hertz.
That means essentially about 95 hertz of band, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
95 hertz of band. Now, one way to do it is, of course, to sample at more than twice the maximum component. As you said, more than twice, that is more than 360 hertz. You sample it, then you can put a low pass filter at 180 hertz, just after 180 hertz, then you can recover. But you first need to put a band pass filter, isn't it?
Yes. Sir, actually, it has multiple options. In the
Yes.
ungraded quiz I had attempted for, so I had selected for first option as sampler of fs greater than 360 hertz.
Yeah, but you would require multiple components
Second,
here, which
yes,
all
sir.
components are needed, isn't it?
Yes. Second option I had selected is band pass filter with pass
Yes.
band
Yes,
85 to 180 hertz.
that's right.
Um, but it is not giving right answer. It is marking it as wrong answer. So probably
No,
one more component are being needed.
you see, you also need, for reconstruction, you will require a low pass filter also, isn't it?
Yes, sir. So it should be low pass filter of cutoff frequency between 85 to fs minus 180. Fs minus
Right,
80.
that's right. Yes.
Okay.
Because you need that component also when you want to reconstruct, isn't it?
Frequency. Yes, sir. I
Okay.
got it, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you, Professor Survasi. So, Professor Survasi made a beautiful presentation on some questions and answers. So, let's go to group 3 then. Group 3. Yes.
Yeah. So we have divided the topic into 4, and all 4 of us have prepared three questions each.
Very
each
nice.
topic.
Very good. Very good.
So first I'll be presenting. After that, my other group members also.
Very nice. Yeah.
So I have prepared 3 questions on sampling, sir.
Very good.
The first question is the following simple signal is sampled at 3 times the minimum rate that will allow the signal to be reconstructed perfectly. And the signal expression is given.
Very good.
There are 3 parts for the question. Find the sampling frequency, find the time between the samples, and find x of 100.
Very good. Very good. Yes. So here it tests, how you find out a particular sample value when you have a sampling rate.
Yes.
And it also tests it tests the Nyquist theorem indirectly, and then and you're also trying to. So very good, very nice. You want to? Yeah, you can present
Yeah.
the solution also. Yes.
Yes. Here, one important point is it is given that sampled at 3 times the minimum rate.
That
So
is
first
right.
we need to find out the minimum rate and then find the 3 times of that. That will be the sampling frequency.
Correct.
I'll go to the answer now.
Yes.
The minimum rate is a Nyquist rate, which is twice the maximum frequency component. So we need to find out the maximum frequency component F here. We have omega 1 as 50, 100, and 300. So we have the frequency component 25, 50, and 150. And the Nyquist rate will be 2 times the maximum of these three, which is 2 times 150 and 300 hertz. So sampling frequency is 3 times the Nyquist rate. So it will be 900 hertz.
Yeah.
And the next part is time between samples, which is 1 divided by the sampling frequency, which you get as 1.11 millisecond. And then we need to find out x of 100. That's the discretized signal, sampled signal. So x of n is equal to x of n into t, where t is 1.11 millisecond. So you can substitute 100 into 1.11 millisecond, and you will get the answer as 7.1.
Very good, very good, very nicely framed. Now, Professor Prema, there's one caution in this question. You must specify that you want to reconstruct with a low pass filter. Because what might happen is these are all tonal components, they're all sinusoidal components.
Yes.
So when you sample them, the aliases are also tonal components.
Yes.
So if you choose the sampling frequency strategically, may not be equal to twice the maximum.
Okay.
You might still get the tonal components, not interfering with the original tonal component. You see what I'm saying? So it's possible that the tonal components may just be shifted in such a way that they don't interfere with one another, even if the sampling rate is less. So you should make it clear by saying you want to reconstruct with a low pass filter. Then of course you cannot allow aliases to come into the. So that should be made clear in the question.
Okay.
Very good. Otherwise, well framed. Yes. Thank you. You can take one more question.
Yes. Next question. Analog signal has a spectrum given in the figure. The minimum sampling rate needed to completely represent the signal is.
Yes.
So here the options are given: 3 kilohertz, 1 kilohertz, 2 kilohertz, and 0.5 kilohertz.
Yes.
And the answer is because it's a band pass signal, the minimum sampling rate will be twice the bandwidth. So here the bandwidth is, you can see that the bandwidth is 0.5 kilohertz. So twice the bandwidth will be 1 kilohertz. So that will be the sampling rate.
Go back to the question. See, that is interesting. Now, there's you have to, again, you need to make a little more specific by saying whether you're going to reconstruct with a band pass filter or a low pass filter. If you're going to use a low pass filter, then you must use twice. Yes, twice of maximum. If you're allowed to use a band pass filter, then what you're saying is correct. Isn't it? So I think that should be made clear here. Both the questions, the kind of filter permitted for reconstruction should be made clear. Yes?
Yes.
Because also you must give that hint in the question. Otherwise, the student would not understand that you're allowing him to use a band pass filter.
So they may even give the answer as 3 kilohertz.
That is right, which may not be wrong actually. No, which is not really wrong if you're using a low pass filter.
Okay, sir.
No? So, right.
Thank you.
Okay, very good. So good. I think we have, so good. Thank you, madam. I think we'll first have, you can stop sharing now. And
yes, I request Anandi ma'am. We have the same presentation.
No, let's do one thing. I think from group 2, I have Mohammad Sattar who would like to also present. So we'll give him a chance first, and then we'll come back to group 3. Yes?
Okay.
So, Yes, so Mohammad Sattar, you can present.
So question number 1 is, we are given the following 5 facts about a discrete time signal x of n, with z transform x of z.
Okay.
X of n is real and right-sided.
Okay.
X of z has exactly 2 poles.
Mhm.
X of z has 2 zeros at the origin,
Okay.
and d bit is x of z has a pole at z is equal to 1 by 2 e power j pi 3. And
Okay.
one x of one condition is that is equal to 8 by 3.
Very good. Very
Determine
good.
x of z and specify its region of convergence.
Very nice. Very good.
It is given that x of n is real solution, and that x of z has exactly 2 poles, with one of the poles at 1 by 2 e power j by 3. Since x of n is real, the 2 poles must be complex conjugate of each other.
Very good.
Thus, the other pole of the system is 1 by 2 e power minus j pi 3. J pi by
Yes.
3.
Yes.
Also, it is given that x of z has 2 zeros at the origin. Therefore, x of z will have the following form. Sir, I don't have that typing issue here. I could not draw that line.
Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter.
X of z is equal to some k z square divided by z minus 1 by 2 e power minus j pi 3 into z minus 1 by 2 e power j pi by 3.
Yeah.
So if you can simplify this denominator, it becomes kz square divided by z square minus 1 by 2z plus 1 by 4
Very good.
for a constant to be determined. Now, since the one condition is given, now it is given that x of 1 is equal to 8 by 3. By putting this in previous equation, we get k is equal to 2.
Mhm.
Thus, x of z is equal to 2z square divided by z square minus 1 by 2z plus 1 by 4. So if
Okay.
we solve this denominator, I think, since x of n is right-sided, its region of convergence is mod z is greater than half.
Ah, you have said that's good. It is right-sided. Fine. Fine. Very good.
Because this 1 by 2 e power j pi by 3 and the complex conjugate both have magnitude as half.
Yes. 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 That is true. Very good. Yes. Yes. Very nicely framed. In fact, this tests many properties of the Z transform at once. Very nice. Yeah.
Thank you, sir. This second question, I have made only 2.
Okay.
And I spent a lot of time in typing because symbols were
Yes.
a problem.
No, you thought about the questions carefully.
Yeah. Consider the two functions f of t is equal to h of t into h of 3 minus t, and g of t is equal to h of t minus h of t minus 3. Are the two functions identical? Show that Laplace transform of f of t is equal to Laplace of g of t. So we have f of t is equal to 1. Again, the bracket issue is there. When t is between 0 and 3,
Mhm.
and is equal to 0 when t is greater than 3. Similarly, g of t is equal to 1 when t is greater than 0 and less than 3, and 0 when t is more than or equal to 3. So the two functions are equal for all t not equal to 3. And so they are not identical.
Mhm.
Now again, we have Laplace transform of f of t is equal to g of t because the values are same. 0 to 3 e power minus st dt, that will be minus 1 minus e power minus 3s by s for s greater than 0. Thus, both the functions ft and dt have same Laplace transform, even though they are not identical. However, they are equal on the intervals where they are both continuous.
Yeah, but see here, what is h of t? I mean, that is not clear, no?
Yeah. It could be some transfer function.
No, but then
We have to define h of t also.
no, otherwise, how would you in general say that ft is equal to 1 for 0?
No, sorry, this can be say some function of t,
Yeah.
and this is a reverse shifted function.
Yeah, but
Here
is the okay. Is the function non-zero only for t greater than or equal to 0?
yeah, between that has to be defined, I think.
You should say something about h of t. Otherwise, this is in general difficult to solve. It's not possible to solve it, isn't it?
Yeah.
So I think I understand what you're saying is h of t is non-zero only for t greater than or equal to 0. Then what you're saying is okay.
Yeah. So we have to add the condition.
Then there's, yeah. So I think you need to specify that. Yeah.
Achha, sir, how to submit these questions?
So you can put it on we'll give you on the course, there'll be a graded activity, you can submit it there.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Yeah, very good. So well done. Thank you, Professor Satta.
Thank you, sir.
Now we'll have the next presentation from group 3. Yes.
Yes, sir. Good afternoon, sir. Myself, Ananthi, Assistant Professor, Department of ECE, Tyagaraja College of Engineering, Madurai. So I'll just move on to map. The signal x of t is equal to sine 14,000 pi t, where t is in seconds, is sampled at a rate of 9,000 samples per second. The sampled signal is the input to an ideal low-pass filter with the frequency responses follows. So first I have taken ideal sampling, sir. Then I will try to move on to solve a non-ideal sampling point of view. Yes. Then h of f, the frequency response is given here. A frequency response of the filter is given here. Ideal low-pass filter response is given. It allows only 12 kilohertz. And the question is here is what is the number of sinusoids in the output and their corresponding frequencies.
Very good.
Yes.
This is how the aliasing happens. Very nice.
Yes, sir. We can already understood that the sinusoidal spectrum we have seen in many things. We have solved already. This input signal sinusoidal spectrum will be having like this way. Input signal spectrum is drawn. Then next slide, please, ma'am. Sampled signal spectrum is a spectrum of x of f, which repeats with integer multiples of 9 kilohertz. So sampled spectrum is drawn, and the sampled signal spectrum is passed through an ideal low-pass filter with the cutoff frequency of 12 kilohertz. The filtered sinusoids we can see from this diagram. If you put low-pass filter and anti-aliasing filter, we can say, or we can reconstruction filter, we can say it allows only 2 kilohertz signal and 7 kilohertz signal and 11 kilohertz signal only. Since the low pass filter bandwidth can allow frequency responses up to 12 kilohertz. The first question.
Very good. Very nice question. Yeah, this tests how aliasing happens with tonal compounds. Very nice. Good.
Yes, sir. This I will talk in different ways. Ma'am, can we move on to question number 3 and then I can come back here.
Yeah. So we'll take one more question from you. Okay, yes.
Yes, sir. The signal x of t with the Fourier transform x of j omega is equal to u of omega and minus u of minus omega naught. That is unit step signal can undergo impulse train sampling without aliasing, provided that the sampling period is t is less than 2 pi by omega naught. And we know that u of omega is this one. It is a unit step signal. And u of omega naught here this is u of omega minus u of omega minus omega naught. So the step responses from omega naught onwards, the response is provided. If you subtract u of omega minus u of minus omega naught, the response will be like this way, and that is written here. So x of j omega is 0 to omega naught only. That is the u of omega minus u of minus omega naught is this one. That is you have to subtract these two. You'll be getting this particular response that is considered as a x of j omega.
Yes.
Then we are having okay. Then if p of j omega is convolved with the x of j omega, the impulse responses will be like this way. Just time, ma'am, can you please stop sharing and I will stop. Can you please stop sharing?
Yeah, Professor.
One second, sir. So that is drawn here, sir. U of omega is omega unit step signal. It starts from 0, and u of omega minus omega naught starts from omega naught onwards. It is going on, and if you subtract these two, you'll be getting 0 to omega naught.
Very good. Yeah, you get that right. You get a pulse, and the pulse is shifted. It is shifted by every multiple of the sampling frequency when you sample it. Very good. Yes.
Yes, sir. Then this is I have I think I have seen I have studied this particular concept, but little bit I'm not trying to the spectrum invention point of view. I'm not seeing anyway, sir. That's what I try to solve this particular problem. It is given. Oh, I don't know. I don't know what you mean by spectrum invention.
Inversion, not invention, inversion.
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 Okay, inversion, right, sir, right, sir, right, sir. And so for a signal, frequency, carrier frequency is given and bandwidth is given, and which sampling frequency will cause spectrum inversion. There's a formula I have got it, sir. So that's what the answer is 1150 megahertz. I clicked as that. Okay, sir.
Inversion, spectrum inversion. So I think what
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It is actually yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Good. Okay, thank you very much. We'll take the next presentation from group 3.
Yes, sir.
Sir, good afternoon, sir. This is Rakesh Sharma from PH College of Technology, Coimbatore. I took some simple problems. Next slide, please.
Yes.
Next slide, please.
Yes, sir.
Consider a system with impulse response h of n is given. Determine the system transfer function h of omega. These questions from DTST, which I have taken the topics. Suppose that second question is.
No, wait, Professor. This would not be a system transfer function. You are saying frequency response. You are writing omega there.
Yes, sir.
Isn't it?
H of n is given. You are supposed to calculate h of omega.
Yeah, but that would be a frequency response.
Okay, sir.
Isn't it? It would be a frequency response. Yeah.
Then suppose that x of n equal to cos pi n by 2. Determine y of n using the transfer function h of omega.
Fine. The question is well framed, but instead of saying system transfer function, you say system frequency response.
Okay, sir.
It's not a transfer function would be a function of S. Taking it
okay, sir. Okay.
Here you want the Fourier transform of the impulse response. All right.
Yes,
okay,
sir. Yes, sir.
Good. Well.
Next slide, please.
Yeah, so I think it can be solved. I think that's fine. Very good. Fine.
Here we have calculated using the modulation property. So we have it is h1 of omega equal to 1 by for the given 1 by 2 power n u of n is this is the formula from the table. So h of omega using modulation property we can write it like this: 1 by 1 minus 1 by 2 e power minus j omega minus pi by 2 plus and vice versa. Next.
So now one can solve it by the properties of the Laplace transform or Fourier transform. Yeah, very good. So very well framed question. Yeah, very nice. Only correction is you should say frequency response, not transfer.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So next slide, please. So for the given x of n, you are supposed to calculate y of n. So x of n can be written as 1 by 2 power 1 by 2 e power j pi n by 2 plus 1 by 2 e power minus j pi n by 2. So we are interested in the region where x of n exists. As sir said, we are interested in h of omega where x of omega exists. So x of omega exists between next slide, please. In minus pi by 2 and pi by 2. So we are calculating h of omega in this region, and we are finding the y of n. So writing y of n as simply substituting the formula y of n equal to modulus of h of omega into x of n. So it is 2 by 3 into e power j pi n by 2 plus 2 by 3 e power minus j pi n by 3. We are substituting the value of omega as pi by 2 and minus pi by 2 and calculating it as 4 by 3 and 4 by 3. So this is the overall
value of the frequency response at that point, at that frequency point, and you've applied it. Very nice, very good.
Yes. One more question. So we are you are given that x of n equal to 1 by 2 power n u of n. Y of n is calculated as x square of n, and y of e power j the Fourier transform y of n. The y of e power j 0 is 1 by 4, 4 by 3. The answer is 4 by 3. Next slide.
You need to convolve. Very good.
So x square of n equal to 1 by 2 power n u square of n, 1 by 2 power 2 whole power n u of n. So 1 by 4 power n u of n. From the formula from z transform 1 by 1 minus a z inverse the formula. So 1 by 4 e power minus j omega. Substituting e power j 0, you'll get 4 by 3 answer.
Very good. Yeah. So yeah, you don't even use. In fact, here it's a specific signals. You can just very nice.
Thank you, sir.
Very okay.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening.
I am Ramar Kranjiyam
Yes.
from Group 3. I'm going to
Yes.
present. I have prepared 3 questions, sir.
Very good.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, you can make it full screen.
I have to explain all 3 or 2, sir?
You can take 2 of them.
Okay. Okay. Next question. I'm moving to the 2 and 3, sir.
Okay.
Okay, sir. Here the question: what is the system function of the system described by the differential equation y of n equal to
Okay.
0.5 y of n minus 1 plus 2 into x of n? So we are going to find the system function. We all know system function is h of z is equal to y of z by x of z. So through that concept, we can solve. So here there are 4 options. Next slide. So here the answer is given directly. I can share the screen. Okay. So the question is y of n is equal to 0.5 y of n minus 1 plus 2 x of n. So for this, we are going to find Z transform. Then we can find the transfer function h
Yeah.
of z is equal to y of z by x of z.
Correct.
So first thing,
Yeah.
we need to find the Z transform for this one. So from this equation, I have to split this y of z and x of z in different
Will it be
place.
possible for you to rotate your, rotate that? Anyway, it doesn't matter. I think we can see what you're writing. Your screen is being projected with a 90 degrees rotation. So if you can rotate it, it doesn't matter. Okay.
Now it's okay, sir.
Okay, doesn't matter. I think your explanation is correct, so it's fine. Yeah. So you can.
Otherwise,
show
I
the
can
yeah, you can
explain
show
through the.
The question is fine. Question is fine, and the answer also, I think.
So now it is okay.
Yes, now it is better. Yeah.
Okay, sir. So n minus 1 plus 2 x of n. I am taking the y of n one side. So and equal to I am having 2 x of n. So after taking Z transform, what do I get? Y of z minus 0.5. For this one, we know z power minus 1 y of z. Then for the RHS 2x of n, that is 2x of z. So now we need for h of z is equal to y of z by x of z. So we have to take all the y of z common. So y of z. So what is the answer? 1 minus 0.5 into z inverse equal to this 2 x of z. Okay.
Yes. Very good. Very good. So now I think they can get the answer from here. Very good.
Yes, sir. From this y of z by x of z, we can get 2 by 1 minus 0.5 z inverse.
No, very good. Very nice. Very nice.
Then I'm moving to the next one.
Yes. Okay, you have a question on
yes,
the Z transform. All right. Very good.
What is the Z transform of the signal? X of n is equal to n into a power n u of n.
Very.
So here we know the Z transform for a power n u of n that we know.
Lot of galaxies, lot of moon, sun, and other things. But at the same time.
Hello.
Hello. Yeah. Go on. Yeah.
Yes. N into a power n u of n. So here we can, if you are finding step by step, it may be somewhat take time. So easier we can make use of the property of Z transform. The what is the property? Differentiate. It is a multiplication in time domain, and it is equally the differentiation in Z domain. So using that property, we can easily solve. So what is that? X of n is equal to n.
So it's okay. I think Professor Amar, I think people can
Yes.
solve it because they can use the differentiation property of the Z transform. Very
Okay,
good.
sir. Okay, sir. Okay,
All
thank you,
right.
sir.
So very nicely framed. Good.
Thank you, sir.
Very nice. Okay. Thank you. Now let's go to group 4.
Yes, sir. Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
Shall I present my screen, sir?
Yes, yes. Please, please. So we'll
Yes,
take
sir.
1 or 2 questions from your group. That should
Yes,
be good enough. Yeah.
yes, sir. Yes, sir. Sure, sir. Sure, sir. So I have taken 2 problems from discrete time Fourier transform and 2 problems from Z transform and 1 from continuous time Fourier
Very
transform. Sir.
nice. You can point out 1 or 2 of them. Yeah.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Out of which 2 problems are solved by our co-participants, sir.
Okay.
One is the Z transform problem. We are given with the following 5
I
facts
think
of
this is a repetition, right?
yes,
This is a
sir. And
so we'll take
one
another
more.
one. Yeah.
Yeah, okay, sir. I will explain. Can I explain the 4th problem, sir?
Yes, 4th problem.
Let x of t be a triangle pulse defined by x of t. And now we need to find the Fourier transform for d square by dt square of x of t.
Okay. Okay.
So
Very
that's right. I will go on to the 4th problem. So the problem given is a triangle waveform x of t. So we have to differentiate with respect to t.
Yes.
So first we will take this slope. Okay, this is a rising slope, and if we differentiate this one, we will get a rectangle pulse. So with the slope of 1 divided by the time duration is also 1. So 1 by 1 you will get 1. So this will be like this, the first one.
Yeah.
For the positive slope, and for the negative slope we will get an slope of -1, sir. So that is plotted here, sir.
Okay. Yeah, correct.
Yes, sir. So when we differentiate is again, so here this first one is a leading edge. So if you take the slope for this one, it will be infinity. So here it is represented by an impulse signal at -1, and in the center it is a trailing edge, that is it goes in the downwards. So here also we are taking it as an impulse with an amplitude of -2, and again here it is a rising edge. So here also the slope is infinity. Here are taking it as representing as the impulse function
Correct.
of 1.
Very good. Very good.
So now we are trying to write it in terms of expression y of t is equal to del of t plus 1 minus 2 times del of t plus del of t minus 1. Now if we take the Fourier transform for this one, we will get an expression like this at 2 cos omega minus 1.
Okay, very
be-
good. Yeah. It's a good question because here it tests the idea of differentiation and what happens to the Fourier transform.
Yes.
Very good. Very nice.
Thanks.
Okay, very good. I think you framed some nice questions. All right. Thank you.
Thanks.
Right. Okay, very good. So we had some questions from group 4. Now we can take one question each from group 7 and group 8 because you had a chance to make a presentation if you have prepared some questions. So group 7 or group 8, do you have some questions to present today?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Harish Bhatt here.
Yes, Harish, yeah, you present your question.
Sir, please start with the group 8 because some
Okay,
network
yeah.
issue.
So Professor
I will
Nandita, you have a question to present?
Yes, Mr. Jayanti will present question.
Okay, fine.
Simulations that is known from the planet, maybe the gravitational things. Many data you cannot get in the space exploration. The main problem is you will not get many data.
Somebody has to
Even
mute.
if you are getting the data, you are not sure whether the data is correct or not.
Yes, yes, Professor Jayanti, yes. Okay, go on, go on. You can just project your screen.
Yeah, I tripled nearly 12 cases. Yes, had both group number 8. We have 2 members are there, ma'am, Nandita ma'am and myself. So I tripled 10 cases, sir. Hello.
Okay.
Yeah, actually, I want to explain all the cases. I can't explain any of the things. Are you sure?
Okay.
Sir, for example, there is a considered system x of z is equal to 0.2 z divided by z plus 0.4 into z minus 0.2 RAC analysis of.
Could you put your mic close to yourself? Are you using a mic?
Now it is audible, sir?
Yeah, now it is audible. Yes.
Okay, sir. Sir, actually, this is the first. The problem is nothing but we want whether the discrete type Fourier transform exists or not. If it is exist, you have to justify the answer. As we all know, for the transform, the thing will be exist. It lies on the inside the unit circle. So here the poles are z is equal to minus 0.4 and z is equal to 0.2, which lies inside the unit circle. Therefore, the discrete type Fourier transform will exist. This is the justification for this answer, sir. If
Provided the region of convergence is to the exterior of the pole, so it's a right-sided signal. You have to specify it's a causal system.
Yes, sir. Kaushal, yes, sir.
You have to specify that it's a causal system.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir.
Okay, good. Yeah, it's a good question. Yeah, good. Take one more question.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. This one, sir. The output of a linear system to a unit step input u of t is t square e power minus t minus 5t. What is the system function it will be? So as per the differentiation property, we have this 2s divided by s plus 5 the whole cube, sir. Because of differentiation, if it is t means it is we have to take u by v method. If it is t square means you have to take 2 times of u by v method. So that we have got this answer, sir.
No, solution, the output of a linear system to a unit step input is this.
Yes, sir. The system function. Yes, sir.
So you have to find the system function. So you have to, so the
take Laplace transform for this alone, and u of t alone, u of t transform 1 by s plus 1. Hello?
No, u of t the
yes, sir. Sorry.
1 by s.
1 by s, sir.
So you have to divide by 1 by s.
Yes, sir. That is h of s is equal to y of s divided by x of s.
Y of s divided by x.
Divided by x of s.
Here, the output of a linear system should to a unit step input. Now, are you saying that this is only for t greater than or equal to 0? So, are you multiplying this by ut, t squared e to the power minus 3t ut, isn't it?
U of t, yes, sir. U of t have to come.
You see, we have to be careful in framing these things. Otherwise, this will not have a Laplace transform.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
You have to be careful in framing such questions. Yeah.
Yes, sir. Sorry, sir.
Very good.
Now it is okay, sir?
Yes, it is. Fine. All right. Very good. So you had some good questions. Very nice.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Okay. So I think that will be good. We have now several questions we have discussed. And now we will come to the concluding part of this workshop. So, I'm very happy. In fact, I've been saying time and again that we have had very enthusiastic participation from all of you. Now, of course, we'll be extending the time deadlines of all your assignments to more than a week. So at least we'll give you a week or maybe even 2 weeks. So you should try and complete your assignments and submit them. And then, of course, you would get your participation certificates and all that. But before we conclude, I would like Dr. Kalpana. Is Dr. Kalpana there?
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Kalpana Kannan again.
Good afternoon, ma'am.
Just want to let you know that we will be announcing courses on IIT Bombay X platform for students. Middle of the courses will start from middle of January, and we'll be announcing maybe sometime in December. So in case your students are interested, you can ask them to join. And these courses will be on skill MOOCs, mainly soft skills, workplace communication. And then we also have a course on LaTeX, which I'm sure some of your master students might want to join. Then we will have courses on thermodynamics, signals and systems, and computer programming. So those are all engineering courses. And there'll be some more courses which we have not yet decided, maybe on Python and database management systems. So in case any of your students are interested, please ask them to join. Then we will also have the FTPs for faculty. So we'll send email announcements. So please watch out for those announcements, and we encourage your students to join. Thank you. And if you have any other question regarding IIT Bombay X, I'll be happy to answer.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Kalpana. And would Mahendra like to say anything about the Creative Commons or something?
So, like Dr. Madam has already made the announcement of the upcoming courses on IT Components. So there are also courses on computer programming and thermodynamics. And I'm sure that your coordinators must have received an email for this. And apart from this, so whatever recordings which have happened during this interaction, no? So this will be released under Creative Commons license CC BY SA 4.0, and we will be releasing it in open source. So this is what I wanted to make this announcement. And the second thing is like we have made the feedback form, and your feedback is very important for us, so that we can improve on whatever drawbacks we have. So accordingly, in future we will try to correct ourselves. So please do spend some time and fill the feedback form, and I'm sure that it will not take more than 5 minutes of yours. Thank you so much, and wish you all the best.
Okay, thank you, Mahendra. And now we would like to invite the participants if you want to share anything as we conclude the workshop. So now this would be the concluding part of the workshop where we would have participants share their experience or any other comments, inputs. So this was now from my side, this was the advanced part of signals and systems. So, you know, with the first workshop and the second workshop, we have now dealt typically with all that we would teach in a first signals and systems course. And this was the advanced part of it. So I can see, I was very happy to see that all of you participated very enthusiastically and you framed some very interesting questions in the question paper part. So it's good to see that all of you have, you know, and also all of you were able to latch on to the nuances in the presentations, in the lectures. So very good. So I would now invite any of you who would like to share any thoughts before we conclude.
Good evening, sir. I'm Jayanti
Yes.
at the AJ College of Engineering, Chennai.
Yes.
Sir, this is the first time I'm registering pedagogy workshop in IIT, sir. Actually, IIT, this is the first course for me. So it was a wonderful experience. I have learned a lot from all the faculties members who shared, and I've learned a lot from this video, upcoming video and all. And sir, the video you uploaded was very, very useful, and I have learned some concept from this video, sir. So this is new to me, so it's was a wonderful experience. Thanks a lot, sir. Thank you.
Thank you so much. It was very nice to have you. And in fact, these videos will be with you forever now. You know, you will be registered in the course, although we would give some time for the course to be live. The course will remain live for about a month now.
Okay,
and, you know, you could interact with the participants in the discussion forum, you know, for almost a few weeks from now onwards.
Okay, sir.
Also, you know, you will have a chance, but you know, the videos will be available to you later, so you can make use of them. And we would also encourage your students, you know, maybe in future you should conduct this course yourself in blended MOOC format. That means you as an instructor, maybe Dr. Kalpana, would you like to tell them a little bit about the blended MOOC thinking?
Yeah. So blended MOOCs is something which we have been offering for many years now. And what we have observed is in blended MOOCs, if you tell your students to watch the videos, whatever Professor Gadre has given, so and you can supplement it with your own material. So that will be very useful, because you don't have to spend a lot of time in preparing for the lectures. Whatever is available, you can ask them to this thing, and only what is not covered by Professor Gadre, only that portion you can teach. And you can also ask your students to come for the class with after seeing the videos, and you can use that class hour for discussion and problem solving, which will make them, you know, better at the subject. So, and you can give some weightage for the online component, which is the MOOC. So the quizzes also, they can attempt the same quizzes. and you can give maybe 20% weightage for these MOOC this thing, and 80% you can give for your own exam. So this way the student will take the MOOCs also seriously, and you will be able to concentrate more on the portion which are not covered by Professor Gadre. So so that is the blended MOOC format. So because we will be floating these courses again next semester, so you can ask your students to register for these courses.
Sure, ma'am.
Thank you, Dr. Kalpana. Yeah. Yes, Professor Jayanti, you had something to say?
Sure, we'll ask our students to register, sir.
Very good. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Any other colleague, any other participant who would like to share any thoughts?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
So thank you for being there, and it was really first time the experience. Like always, we participate in FDPs, but it is just one-sided. There is no chance to present ourselves. Here, the pedagogical thing is there, and actual what we are teaching with our peers also we have discussed, and they are also observing, and the guidance. Getting guidance from you was just like blessing, and that will surely enhance the teaching techniques also, and our students will also be benefited. And surely I will suggest my students to go through the course and try the blended type also.
Very good. Thank you very much, Professor Himangi Kulkarni.
Thank
And
you,
yes,
sir.
you would be very happy if you encourage your students to register for this course when it's offered and conduct in blended MOOC format. Very nice. And it was
Yes.
very nice to have all of you participate. That was the whole intent. That in fact, the associations that you built in this workshop with your colleagues should remain even afterwards. So I would recommend that all of you, exchange contact information and continue your associations even later. That's the whole idea. Yes. So, any other participant?
Thank you, sir, for giving a wonderful lecture on signals and system. We had learned the way how to teach the concept in an abstract manner. We learned so many techniques from you, sir. It is very, we are very thankful to you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much, Professor Rakesh. And then, we would love to, have you guide your students in the blended MOOC form. And you also participated very enthusiastically. It was very good. So, in fact, Professor Sattar has shared his WhatsApp number in the chat. So, all of you could download the chat and you could share your contact information with one another. And my recommendation is you should continue these associations even after we conclude the workshop. Yes, the whole idea is you should form these associations which will continue in future. Thank you, Professor Rakesh. Yes. So, any other participants who would like to share before we conclude? All right. So, I can see that there are people sharing their contact information in the chat. So, you could download the chat before you log out. Yes, you have all the contact information. You immediately download the chat before you log out. So, you have all the contact information there. All right. So, all of you have shared your contact information. Now, before you conclude and log out of this session, I would recommend that you copy the chat into a text file. And there's a question from Professor Ananthi, how do you do time management? I too wish I knew the challenge. One important thing is to prioritize, I guess. You have to prioritize. You cannot possibly have time to do everything that you want. You have to prioritize. What is, there's the story, you take the important things first. Otherwise, you would always spend, there's Stephen Covey has said, you have this matrix of urgent and not urgent, important and not important. So the more we can take not urgent but important things, the less we would be caught up with only urgent and important things, or sometimes urgent and not important things. We tend to get caught up with only urgent and important things, and sometimes even urgent and not important things. And Stephen Covey says that it's very important for us to be able to move to not urgent but important things. That is the skill of time management. That is one of the skills. Yes, so now we will extend the dates of the credit activities, and we'll extend them until at least 1 week from now, and we'll give you enough time to submit them, and we'll keep the course live for 1 month from now so that you can interact with one another. In fact, is Urmila there right now?
No, Urmila is not there, but yeah, I can.
I think what we can do is we can keep the activities live for about a month, because they can take about 2 weeks to submit. We can keep the discussion, we can keep the course live for a month, like we did for the other one.
Yes, sir. We can. Nitin, yes, sir. We can do that.
Yes. Nitin, you're there.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
We can keep the course for the first workshop. Also, we've kept it open for 1 month.
Yes, sir.
So we'll do the same here. And in fact,
sir.
we can allow, I think in both the courses, we can allow them, 3 weeks to submit the assignments from now.
Okay, sir. So till 21st of December, we'll keep it open.
We can keep
Okay,
it
sir.
open 21st of December, and we can keep the course open even afterwards. But all the deadlines can be up to 21st of December.
Yes, sir. And after 21st of December, once the due date is over, we'll generate the certificates.
That is right. And
Okay,
we'll
sir.
do this for both the courses. Yes.
Okay, sir. 21st December, 12 o'clock noon is the
Yes.
due date.
For
Okay,
all
sir.
the assignments in both the courses.
Yes, sir.
And also, what we will be doing, Nitin, is, see, all the participants, whoever has registered, both
Yes, sir.
under Equip and also from Lakshya,
Lakshya.
all of them, we should register from the back end in IIT Bombay, I think.
Yes, sir. They are registered.
They're already registered. yeah.
Registered.
What about the TechWhip ones? TechWhip are also registered?
Yes, sir.
So they're all registered, no?
Yes, sir.
So, yeah.
Sir, may
Yes.
I have
Yes,
a question?
Yes,
Sir,
Professor.
in the course, there are graded activities, and
Yes.
other than graded activities, there are some quizzes and exercises.
Yes.
But if we want to see, suppose I answered some question on a quiz, and we if we can get the answer, then it will be very much helpful to us.
You will be able to. So Nitin,
No.
Oh.
Most of the cases, most of the submit button is not activated.
Oh, I see.
Submit
Can you
button is
understand
not
the problem? Is there a way to solve this?
Yes, sir. The session for the ungraded activities, once you submit the your question answer, you can see the answer. If you're submitted incorrect, it will highlight your option is in the red, and the correct option will be highlighted in the green.
No, that I know. That is applicable for the questions where the submit button is highlighted. But
Yes.
most of the cases, submit button is not activated. So how can I press the submit button?
Ma'am, you have to select any of the option first in the grade. It's MCQ type question.
right.
So you have to select the option first. Then once you select the option, then the submit button will be activated.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes.
Very good. Yeah.
Thank you.
Is that right? So that means Nitin, we should register all the participants under TechWhip also. Whoever
Yes,
have registered, not only those who have attended, whoever have registered. So you can take the list from Dr. Srinivas, and whoever
Yes.
have registered, we should register them in IIT Bombay X, whether they attempt it or not, right? And we'll give everybody time until 21st December, and then we will after 21st December, then we will generate the
Certificates.
certificates with whatever score they've got.
Okay, sir.
Whatever, even if they've got 0 score, we generate the certificate with it.
So the certificate comes along with percentage or marks, sir?
So depending on how much you attempt,
Okay.
in the graded activity.
Okay.
So that it will come with those. But we will be giving, so we'll give a certificate to but it will come with whatever marks have been obtained for everybody, right? Depending on the number of activities that have been attempted. Is that right, Nitin?
Sir, the certificates will be giving won't be printed with the
No. Acha, they'll just be participation.
Participation, yes, sir. So once we have set a grading policy,
Yeah.
so once they cross the 40%, we have set the 40% graded policy. So in the graded activities, if they get 40%, they'll be eligible for the certificates.
Right. Yeah, so that means you must attempt at least a few of the graded questions to be able to become eligible for the certificate.
Okay, sir.
Right? So at least 40. That means there are 10 graded activities. You must attempt at least 4 properly, or at least the equivalent of 4 properly. Right? That is what is required.
Okay.
So that will be, so everybody will get a chance, if they, even if they've not been able to attend some sessions, you get a chance to attempt them by 21st of December. Yeah. And then your certificate will get generated. So Nitin, only thing is we should register all the participants in IIT Bombay X, whoever have registered
for this course. Yes, sir. Or TechWhip participants also.
TechWhip also, yeah.
Okay, sir.
From Dr. Srinivas. So we are treating them as participants, you know.
Yes.
We are treating them as participants, and it's up to them whether they want to complete and get a certificate or not. Yeah?
Yes, sir.
So.
Okay, sir.
Okay. Any other questions or any other inputs before we conclude?
It was such a wonderful workshop, sir. I attended both the workshops, and it was a great experience for me.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Professor Prema. I think you participated very enthusiastically in both the workshops. Thank you very much for your
participation. So we will have a collaboration after this also, sir.
Yes.
We will be contacting you for any other. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
I hope all of you have downloaded the chat so that you have all the contact information. All right. Okay, then I think we'll conclude this workshop now. My very best wishes to you, all of you. And, you know, it's very important. I like to conclude again with the ancient Indian principle, which says, Sahaviryam Karavavahi. That means together we must do great things. So that should be a principle even in the pedagogical domain. Yeah. All right. So very good afternoon to all of you, and we'll conclude this workshop now.